Walking down the hallway at school used to fill Brian Hiner with dread. Today, he visits schools voluntarily. But for 12 years, school was a living nightmare.
They'll look for any reason to hurt you. It might be the way you look, how clever you are, your clothes, or your taste. There can be 1,000 reasons. But none of them should be a reason for bullying at school.
Schools are meant to be a safe place for children, where they can receive an education, grow in their personal development, and learn to interact with others. But when children are excluded and bullied, their lives can become miserable. According to the United Nations, 1 in 3 children experience some form of bullying, often leaving lifelong scars. Brian Hiner works as a volunteer, giving workshops designed to prevent bullying. Most of them are in Spain. But today, he's at a school in the tiny neighboring country of Andorra.
First, I'm going to tell you about my book that I've published. It's called Beaten But Not Defeated. Years ago, I experienced bullying at school. There are 3 parties: the victim, the aggressor, and the observer. The observer causes just as much damage as the aggressor. I would say even more, because they're just looking on and not getting help. Apart from the observer, who do you think needs the most self-confidence?
The victim.
The victim. Okay. Why? Why?
Because we shouldn't let the things other people say affect us. Although, of course, they can hurt us. But mostly because you have to develop a sense of self-worth in incidents like that. If people call us names, it needs to go in one ear and out the other.
What's your name?
Jordi.
Do you agree with Jordi? Great.
Brian is 23 years old and lives 30 minutes from Barcelona. He spent most of his childhood here, including 4 years at a local school.
For a long time, I just thought bullying was normal. If you experience it for long enough, you start to believe everything they say about you. It took me a long time, for example, to be able to look my girlfriend in the eye. Then there was the terrible fear of social situations, the fear of giving a presentation and appearing in front of lots of people. I panicked at the thought that someone might make eye contact with me.
Every day, he still walks past his old school. His memories of that time are extremely painful.
I never knew the reason why they bullied me. All they wanted was to give me a hard time because of my eye, because of the way I looked. That's why they singled me out. My last years here at this school were physically the most difficult. They threw me down the stairs. They rammed a pen into my hand and then into my neck. They beat me up right there in that building, at the sink in the gymnasium. I remember they surrounded me so I couldn't get away. That image is still fresh in my mind. My memories of this place are terrible.
Brian was born with strabismus, where the eyes don't properly align. It's since been corrected, but the harm he suffered as a result of the bullying still affects him today.
There are people who unconsciously react and look behind them as they pass by me. And that just really hurts, because I know they've noticed something going on with my eye. That has an effect.
Brian changed schools 3 times, but the bullying never stopped. He got support from close friends and his parents, but not from the school itself.
To stop the bullying, the director of one of my schools advised me just to hit back, to defend myself. The focus wasn't on talking about it or the ethics of the situation. He favored more aggression over talking.
Brian felt powerless and alone, plagued by self-doubt, and he assumed he was somehow to blame, a typical response.
I thought, why go to a place where they beat me up, insult me, and threaten me? It just didn't make sense. Under that kind of psychological stress, you end up thinking, I ended up thinking, that the best thing would be for me to take my own life.
The foundation Bullying Sin Fronteras, or Bullying Without Borders, estimates 1 in 4 children are harassed at school, and cyberbullying continues outside of school. The group says bullying kills 200,000 children and teenagers worldwide each year. Two years ago, Jose Manuel Lopez and Maria Jose Lopez lost their daughter, Kira. They're convinced that it was bullying at school that drove their daughter to her death.
You don't get over that. You can't work through the death of your child. It's incomprehensible.
We all react differently. For me, the photos are like air that I can now breathe in. I look at a photo and it takes me back, allowing me to relive those moments. I remember how happy we were. We were so lucky to have a daughter like Kira.
This is my daughter Kira's room. I say hello to her every day, in the morning and evening. If we buy cookies or other things that she liked, we put them here for her. And this is her necklace. She was wearing it in all the photos. And because she didn't fit in at school, now she fits into a small urn. That's how it is. My beautiful daughter is no more. Sometimes I speak about her in the present tense, sometimes in the past. She's still there. If I had to choose between my life now and never having had Kira, I would still have chosen to have had Kira.
On May 19th, 2021, Kira took her own life. They found her in the stairwell. She was 15 years old.
I think she was trying to protect us at the end. And her way of doing that was not to tell us everything that was happening to her. I guess she thought she could cope with it. I think something must have happened on that final day. We'll never know what it was, where she just couldn't bear it any longer.
They blame Kira's school, Colegio Padre Manavet in Barcelona, where they say she suffered severe bullying. As parents, they contacted the teachers repeatedly, asking them to put a stop to the bullying. Back in 2019, they sent this letter to the school, detailing years of suffering. They say right from early childhood, she was called names and left out. She suffered both psychological and physical abuse.
When they told her she would die next week, when they pushed her down the stairs, when they cut off her ponytail and all her hair in the classroom, when they destroyed her school bag, called her names and laughed at her every day.
Spain schools are required to record all cases of bullying. There's a fixed procedure for when and how schools are required to act, and when bullies have to be reported. Kira's parents say, like many, they underestimated how quickly bullying can escalate. They say Kira's time here was marked by systematic oppression and exclusion, and they blame the school.
It was absolute hell. The required procedure was not adhered to. I don't understand this failure of procedure.
They say changing schools wasn't an option for Kira. Then, during the pandemic, the classes were divided up into groups, and Kira was separated from her friends. They asked if their daughter could switch groups, but say the school rejected their request.
They told Kira that she was the problem. They told her that again and again. She was the one that needed to learn to integrate into the class. Kira died believing that she didn't fit in, because that's what she was told at school every time we complained. But in her farewell letter, she said goodbye to her friends, who she was very fond of. She wasn't a lonely child, but they convinced her she was, even though that wasn't her problem. For a teenager, that's a terrible thing.
9 days after Kira's death, an email appeared in the school app on her phone. It was sent from a computer at her school. The subject line was death. The message, die.
In the end, the police found out it was a student from her class, but the boy just said he sent the email by mistake. Personally, I don't believe that. Our research suggested that it was a kind of bullying that continues even after death.
The school denies all wrongdoing in Kira's case. They say there's no evidence she was bullied, and therefore no connection between events that happened at the school and her decision to commit suicide. Kira's case shocked the country. In her local area, graffiti and posters still serve as a constant reminder. Spain has a bullying problem, the worst in all of Europe, according to the group Bullying Without Borders. At Kira's school, still more cases have been reported. Maria José López is on the way to see her neighbor Carmen Yepes. She's opened a new boutique in the area. Maria wants to find out how Carmen's daughter is doing. She goes to the same school as Kira and was reportedly also bullied. Carmen keeps precise records of everything her daughter has experienced at school, writing emails, keeping a diary, and notes. And she's reported it to the authorities.
This one, and this, all of these. These are reports of panic attacks, and these are all the emails that I found. Here I wrote down every day whether something bad happened, or whether nothing happened.
The bullying experienced by her daughter was apparently so bad, Carmen reported the perpetrator to the police, even though he's a minor. Like other parents, she says the atmosphere in the school promotes rivalry and bullying.
It's exactly the same pattern, the same story. They tell the school about the physical and psychological abuse that their daughter is suffering. The school just denies it, says their daughter is the problem, and they refuse to do anything about it.
Carmen appealed directly to the education authority. That upped the pressure on the school, and the case was then officially documented. Since then, things have eased somewhat, but the experience has left her daughter suffering from depression and an eating disorder. She's receiving psychological treatment. After the death of their daughter Kira, all José Manuel and Maria José could do was file a lawsuit. In the criminal proceedings that followed, they and the Barcelona City Council appeared as joint plaintiffs. But in the trial, the district court ruled that it couldn't be established beyond doubt that the school, either as an institution or individuals at the school, drove Kira to commit suicide. The case was discontinued. And then, in October 2022, Kira's parents appealed against that decision, and the case was passed to the regional court. But just sitting around and waiting was too difficult. Instead, Jose Manuel began working to protect other families from the same fate. He joined forces with the parents of children who have been bullied to try to establish an anti-bullying law that provides better protection for children. They collected 230,000 signatures and met with the Spanish education minister. But twice as many signatures are needed to initiate legislation.
My daughter has died. I made her a promise, and I owe it to her to keep that promise. I won't give up, not till we're done, until justice is done. Anyway, I have to keep going. It's what's keeping me alive. Yes, I owe her that.
He's planning to take part in a demonstration calling for a nationwide anti-bullying law. One of the organizers is Brian, who he's arranged to meet.
Hello there. How are you?
Hi, how are you?
We specifically want a law against bullying in schools that is binding for the entire country. We have to insist on that, and we will get the political leaders to listen to us. I know we can get this passed. I'm confident of it.
They want a set of rules for following up on cases that applies to every school and every part of Spain.
Because the education system is failing so badly, we need to make sure these cases are seen and that action is taken. But we have a long fight ahead of us.
The next stop for Brian is a school near Barcelona, once again raising awareness of how serious bullying is. He's accompanied by the Catalonian police. He gets booked for courses like this once or twice a week. His goals are prevention and understanding. Both the victims and the perpetrators are children. Brian encourages the victims of bullying to speak out, but only 10% dare to raise the alarm.
Yes. Starting in the 4th grade, they started saying mean things to me. You see, I have a problem. I have epilepsy. They started saying things like, "Oh, you poor thing," for example. They started talking behind my back. It's been handled since, but it still happened.
Providing adequate support for the children and combating bullying works better in some schools than others. It's up to the school to create a climate where bullying can't take root. The Col·legi Sant Ermengol in Andorra books Brian regularly for workshops. They can't emphasize enough how dangerous bullying can be.
Bullying is very bad. Children need more time than adults to work through it, and scars remain. Make sure that no one at our school ever suffers from this, that you're not hurtful towards a friend or classmate. You need to be really, really, really observant.
Maria Josep Pascual is convinced the workshops are having a positive effect. She's been running the school for 3 years now. She has 20 years of experience as a teacher and psychologist. She says that bullying exists in every school and that it's important to put a stop to it right from the start, because once it takes root, it's almost impossible to stop.
Our basic approach is to ensure that the students, teachers and other staff are paying attention. Every incident that arouses our suspicions has to be put on record. We also do our best to teach empathy. We can't allow any student here to be treated badly.
She says that every school has critical areas that are difficult to monitor, like locker rooms, bathrooms, and stairwells. So calls are growing in Spain for more video surveillance in schools to better protect children. Like many schools, this one has installed cameras for the outside, but they're not currently authorized indoors.
Our cameras need to be the students and the teachers themselves.
She wants the school to be a respectful environment that strengthens children's social skills. A place that teaches every child to celebrate their uniqueness rather than being ashamed of it. Meanwhile, José Manuel López is on his way to a meeting with his lawyer. The regional court has rejected their appeal. They need to discuss what to do next. Their lawyer, Paula Narbona, is not giving up. Legally, their only option now is to pursue a civil case.
There's not enough hard evidence to pin it down, not enough facts to prove school bullying for a criminal case.
They've waited more than 18 months for a court ruling. The new trial could take up to 2 more years.
Can we demand compensation? I want the maximum. Not for myself. If we win anything, I'll donate it to charity. Ultimately, the children aren't to blame either. They're just children. But someone needs to be accountable for the mistakes that were made. Because after everything that happened, my daughter is dead, and that has to have consequences.
Legal expert Jordi Nieva Fenol has followed Kira's case from the start. He says bullying is always difficult to prove in a criminal case and believes civil proceedings have a greater chance of success.
With a civil case, all the parents can expect is money, nothing more. Of course, that's not justice, but at least it's something. And perhaps more importantly, it can cause the school to take better measures in the future to prevent such things from happening, provided that the school is indeed found to bear responsibility.
He points out that Kira's case has attracted nationwide interest. He believes that even though the criminal case has been discontinued for now, it will continue making waves.
The ruling doesn't mean that something might not turn up in the future. That's why the court ordered a provisional discontinuation. Otherwise, if it had been believed that nothing more could be found, the proceedings would have been closed definitively.
In a letter sent to all parents, the school presented the situation somewhat differently. It said the proceedings were concluded.
That's strange that a letter from the school states that the investigations have been permanently concluded. That is not true. The court said exactly the opposite.
The version portrayed by the school was also spread by parts of the Spanish media. In May 2023, it was time for the protest. Around 350 people marched through Barcelona. Among them, many who had lost or almost lost a child, a niece, or a grandson. They marched together with Brian Giner and José Manuel López to the seat of the Catalan government, where they delivered their message to the education minister.
Mr. Cambrai, look at the photos. This can't be allowed to continue. If you're not capable of doing anything, make way for someone who is.
Their pain has turned to anger. The regional school authority is remaining silent, unwilling to reveal if the bullying protocol applies to Kira's case. The general director responsible for the area, Ana Chida Fibla, is remaining tight-lipped, claiming the criminal case is ongoing, even though it's been provisionally discontinued.
As I told them before, this case is under criminal investigation, so we can't discuss any details.
The authority is also said to have investigated the case and found the school was not in any way responsible for Kira's death. José Manuel and Maria José miss Kira every day. They feel they've been left to fight on their own. They no longer expect any support, not from the regional school authority, and certainly not from the school itself. Brian says only when government and society get serious about tackling bullying will he stop fighting. He believes there's still a long way to go, something he regularly discusses at his hometown radio station.
Hi, how's it going? Let's get started. The most important thing to me is to encourage victims of bullying not to keep quiet, but to reach out for help. Because what most often kills is the staying silent. It's the hiding and feeling small. That's what gradually shuts you down and consumes you. So ask your dad, your mom, your teacher, or other people for the help that you need.
It's the first warm evening of the year, and the beaches are filling up in Barcelona. The López family came here often, walking along the beach together. The grief for their daughter Kira comes and goes. The nature of their grief might change, but it never goes away. They hold on to precious memories like these.
She had such a love for the beach. As soon as the first ray of sunshine appeared, the first thing she wanted to do, since she was this small, was to get her feet wet. The beach was a source of joy for her, and summer was the time she enjoyed it the most. The beach is Kira.
Kira's parents can't just remain still. They support each other.
Launching civil proceedings is the right way to go. The right way to hold the school, the parents of bullies, and the authorities to account. No, we will not let this go. They need to pay for the damage. We want justice. My daughter's death cannot have been in vain.
Kira is never far from their minds. Her death has shaken many in Spain and drawn attention to a previously unseen danger: how bullying can destroy lives.